Yo, what's going on, everybody? We are live, Wrestle Purist live, hosted by myself and Ibu, better known to a lot of you as Backup Hangman. And we got a few things to get into today. Not quite as action packed as yesterday's episode, but we still got a few things to talk about. NXT was last night. We got AEW Dynamite later tonight, and a few little things in between. First things first, please like, subscribe, super chat if you're feeling generous. Always appreciate it. Get your questions, get your takes in. Turn on the post notifications, and hope everyone's doing good. Starting with my fellow tired co-host, Ibu. How you doing?
Yeah, what's going on, everybody? I I just woke up. Monty DM'd me like 20 minutes before we went on the air, and he was like, "Are you still alive?" And I was like, "Yeah, I just overslept." So yeah, man, we're gonna do this thing, and then I got shit to do to get ready before I go to work. But yeah, I have no clue what's going on. I do not know what the topics are. I don't know what the latest wrestling news is, but I'm gonna find out at the same time you guys find out, and we will live react together. And I will have a take because Monty pays me to have a take on these things. So happy to be here, and let's do the thing. Let's do the thing.
I think the tired, grumpy backup hangman might become like a regular Wednesday thing with these shows because I think you probably remember the rant you went on last week. I believe that was Wednesday. So
Oh, that was a week
and you
ago.
was pretty grumpy. Yeah, you was pretty grumpy. You was pretty
Oh
grumpy on that
man.
episode as well.
Oh man. Holy shit. we'll, we'll see.
Might become a thing.
We'll see if something pisses me off. When something comes up that pisses me off, I'm looking at the comments. We got someone said NXT is the best show on earth, and someone said NXT ruled.
It does, man. It's people are liking the show, and people are liking the show, and obviously it's working. And it seems like people are more willing to give it a second chance to people that might have abandoned it in the NXT 2.0 era. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, man, it was a pretty good show. We're gonna get into it a little bit later on. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into it. First thing we'll talk, of course, the CM Punk WWE latest. Of course, CM Punk has been all over the news. We've spoke about him almost to exhaustion at this point, but there's always something, and I'm sure it's going to be like this for a while. And this is the latest, I guess, on the WWE stuff. PW Insider reported that CM Punk was an immediate topic of discussion within WWE, especially amongst top talents. There were some who were adamantly against the idea and didn't believe it could happen, but others who looked at it as a chance to make big money. We know of one top tier star who was all for it, but it wouldn't be their call. WWE also have a merger to finalise before they can think about any major money talents. And a few within WWE have noted it would be an endeavour call, and Punk did have a good relationship with them when he fought there. It was also noted as well that Punk and Paul Levesque, Triple H, of course, spoke very briefly when Punk went and visited Raw in Chicago a few months ago. So, yeah, it seems of course, it was always going to be divisive amongst the WWE talents because it's CM Punk. It wouldn't be right if it wasn't divisive and CM Punk comes around. Some people are going to want to work with him, some people aren't going to want to work with him. But apparently, there's one top tier star who was all for it. If you got any idea who it might be,
My guess is Cody Rhodes.
yeah,
You know, I'm guessing it was Cody Rhodes. I could
yeah,
I could see Cody
me
talking
too.
to. Yeah, I could see Cody Rhodes talking to Mike Johnson, be like, "Yeah, bring him on. I'm all for it. Let's make some money. Let's do some fun stuff." I can't confirm if it was or wasn't. It's just a guess, but I have a decent feeling. Um, Regarding this whole situation, yeah, he was. Sorry, excuse me. He was God. He was the topic of conversation at TV, like reported. He was the topic of conversation at Payback. A lot of people just discussing the situation, talking about if he should come, things like that. People disagreeing on that. Very polarizing, as you'd expect. Um, I can tell you guys that a talent at WWE was texting him while he was at Raw. Just reached out to him. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to follow this process. It's going to be Endeavor's call, and they have to finish the merger, and then from there, we shall see what happens. Survivor Series is in Chicago, so we will see
Mhm.
if we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that date in Chicago is definitely one I think a lot of people are going to circle, especially if more little bits and pieces of news keeps being reported as you'd probably expect it to with someone like CM Punk, especially with everything that's been going on. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. And speaking of waiting and seeing how it plays out, what's next for AEW? You know, they've just had a very very historic week for good and for bad. You know, they're back to back pay per views. AEW All In, of course, was a record setting weekend, and then going to Chicago and having arguably one of their best pay per views in the history of the company, to be honest. A lot of people are really putting it up there. So AEW All In, AEW All Out, and of course, in the midst of all of that, there was an incident with CM Punk. Jack Perry's been suspended. Then CM Punk got fired, and then this, and then that, and it's been quite the whirlwind. So it'll be interesting to see how AEW kind of restabilize, go in a different direction, how they plan to move forward, etc., etc. You know, it poses a few different questions, which I'm going to throw at you. I'm going to bounce a few questions off you. So the first thing, who do you think AEW should be building around right now? You know, of course, with CM Punk, especially with Collision. You know, so like the core 4 to 6 talents you think they should be building their products around right now.
All of the people that were made projects at the beginning of Collision, like Ricky Starks, Miro, Will Hobbs, House of Black, Andrade, that needs to continue and be followed up on, because if you don't, then you are wasting 10 weeks of television, and that's a waste of money. So continue on that, but obviously trickle in Bryan Danielson and have him pull a few more people into his orbit. So I think just continue on the path CM Punk laid out, but with Danielson in his place and with a few more wrestlers in the undercard to kind of fill out the show, so that it doesn't need to be this thing where it's as small of a cast and you do these 30-minute main events. Like, you don't have to do that every week. You know what I mean? But I'd frankly, just for Collision, continue building on who we were building on.
Keeping the vibe different. And
Yeah. I honestly. As for Dynamite, I just want more focus and honing in. We need to identify who the top dogs are. We need to identify who's really worth investing in and putting effort towards forwarding that, because this kind of scattershot, your turn, my turn, his turn, their turn, you know, rotating casting, I don't like it. It used to work, and now it doesn't, because the roster's too big, and so now there's no hierarchy and the momentum is inconsistent for people. So right now, where I'm at with Amonte is, let's really get serious with Swerve. Let's get really serious with Konosuke Takeshita. And I mean, I'd imagine Jay White's going to be on the shows for double duty. Let's get really serious with Jay White as well. So let's really focus.
heels. Yeah,
Yeah.
nice
But
lineup of heels.
that's what I'm saying. I just named you 3 young heels. Let's really resolve to make them all firmly main event level heels by the end of the year. I think it's very doable. Let's do that. And Bandito is going to be cleared soon. Let's give him an actual focused weekly push.
On which show? Dynamite.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter, but yeah, sure. Let's give him a focused week-to-week push and have him be the labeled international babyface star. Beyond that, the next goal should be Hangman Page. I don't want him missing TV again for the rest of the year, Monty.
Not one TV.
That sounds militant. Yeah, I don't
I
want him
like it. You know where I stand on it.
Yeah, I want him on every single fucking show. And I'm not talking pre-tapes, Monty. He needs to be doing something of meaning on the majority of these TVs, because the fans want to accept him as the leader of this company, as a babyface. They want to accept him as the ace, the main character. But the company is very inconsistent in featuring him that way. The BCC program was meant to heat Hangman Page up, and he came out of it just as cold as he was before. You know, so it's like they undid their own work, which is, I don't understand when they do that. So hopefully tonight's the start of big things for him. And I want it to be the start of a consistent period where he is just an ass-kicking world beater on the show. that is one of the anchors, one of the pillars of AEW programming. So let's really get going with him. Let's get going with a Bandito type. Let's do some really fun and creative things with Takeshita Swerve and Jay White. And as for Collision, keep the foot on the gas with the guys you had, and let Danielson cook. So that's where I'm at with everything.
What about Rampage, man? I know everyone kind of rolls their eyes at it when you talk about the idea of what Rampage could be, but at the end of the day, it's an hour on cable television that they have, you know, and it can be used productively. And I think in this non CM Punk era of AEW, because that's kind of the feeling that we have now, you know, that we're going into a different era, a different phase of AEW. You know, they've just done Wembley, and now they've got no CM Punk, and we're on the other side of Wembley, the first time anyway. Of course, they're going back there next year, but feels like we're going into a new era. So, Rampage, Do you see any chance of that being like revamped, given a new breath of life, or anything like that? And if not, what would you do with that extra hour of television?
Well, I'll tell you this: the creative process for Rampage changed about maybe a month and a half ago, roughly.
Okay.
And as a result, the show has become a bit better than it was, because it really became absolutely nothing television. It
Yeah.
became absolutely nothing television. And I'd say maybe like 5 of the last 8 Rampages have been pretty decent. And some of them have featured like at least one match that you're like, you should probably look at that one. Um, and so it's a positive trend. Let's go even further. It's never going to be a show that's going to be watched by a ton of people, but that doesn't mean you can't use the hour of TV time productively. So I think that's the show where you can maybe get the undercard guys some reps, and do some interesting things with like the mid card. So I would do 1 to 2 nerd friendly matchups. Matches that like won't pop a great number on a Dynamite, but it'd be really fun to watch. I'd let Emi Sakura cook on that show. I'd let some of like the lesser known luchadors on your roster do things. Have the Kingo on there doing some fun stuff. Maybe putting some lucha tags with him. Um, and yeah, I'd use that show to kind of maybe help some of these guys underneath come along with just with everything, with promos, with everything. And then you can maybe run some packages and things to augment your storylines on the major shows. So yeah, just make it a little bit more meaningful, and put on matches that people like, at least the hardcore fans would like to see. Because the thing is, it was getting to a point where Rampage wasn't for anybody. It wasn't for like the hardcore AEW nerd fans. It wasn't for like it wasn't for anybody. Like, it's just,
It's tough.
yeah, like you do something like this is not an exact match, but like they'll do like Yuta versus QT. Like, who wants to see this? Like, who's that for? And so, but you put on, let's say they put on Commander and Vikingo versus let me think. Commander and Vikingo versus the Kingdom. There's a
What's for
portion of
me?
there's a portion of your audience that really would like to see that.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. And of course, always a talking point with AEW. Um, the women's division. Of course, that has been under a lot of criticisms on and off throughout pretty much the whole time of its history. Um, of course, Saraya is the current AEW Women's World Champion. Chris Statlander is the current TBS champion, and of course, everyone loves Chris Stat. Saraya is a very big, popular star, but of course, she isn't known for her in-ring prowess these days, to put it politely. Um, like I said in the media scrum, she's only had 4 singles matches since being in AEW. She's won the title, and she's still been at ringside. I think she calls it ringside princess. That's kind of what she's doing, even though she's world champion. But the women's division as a whole, what kind of direction would you like to see that going in? Like, who would you like to see them build around? You know, better undercard stories, etc., etc. Like, who would you like to see utilize better? Who do you think they should be building around for the future? Stuff like that.
Let's try to make Statlander's reign more interesting, because they basically just swapped her in for Jade Cargill and had her essentially doing the same thing Jade has been doing. And that's not the best utilization of Chris Statlander. I think she's a very unique talent. She shows it sometimes, but sometimes I think they just kind of like phoned it in with her a little bit and just go, all right, well, she'll just do this match with this person. And like, it doesn't, there's like not that much level of thought that goes into what happens with her on TV. And I think we can reverse that. I want to establish Athena on TV. I think what they should do with Athena is get her on the main roster and literally,
Definitely.
quite literally copy what she's been doing with Ring of Honor. Like just straight up copy it. Um, let's refocus Willow Nightingale as one of the top people in this division because her pushes are very on and off. You know, you feel like she's
I think
getting.
she's a potential ace holder, like
I
top,
agree. I
top,
agree.
top baby face of the women's division, like transformative for the division sort of
I
thing.
absolutely agree. And there's times where it feels like we're trending in that direction with her, and then like they'll kind of pull back a little bit, and she's back to just being like the babyface buddy of another babyface that like does some tags, and like it's a little weird, but yeah, I think she could be the ace of a division. So let's really kind of get going with that. Get Athena on the main roster. I would not be opposed to going similar to the direction of the beginning of AEW. Let's flood this shit with some Joshis. Who cares? You could start trickling them in on Rampage. Let's get like one of these weeks, Monty. They should like try to, if possible, exhaust whatever resources they can, right? To get maybe 3 to 5 to maybe 6 Joshi talents, right? And get them to agree to do a tour of AEW. And what you do in that tour is get the most out of them, which is let's kind of use them in on some tags on Rampage, right? And then maybe after 2 weeks of that, you get 2 of them to come up to the main show and you do something with them on Dynamite. You know, things like that. And it'll be a unique kind of interlude on the show, WCW Cruiserweight style, where these people pop up and then they just impress the live audience. And then you can have the commentary tell us who they are and that type of thing. Um, I just think it would go back to really helping this place regain its identity, you know. So I think some of that I would say, uh, let's not take our foot off the gas of Hikaru Shida because they've tried to really kind of reestablish her, and now that Saraya's champion, there's a chance that they could kind of fall off on that, and hopefully they don't. Um, and yeah, Willow, Statlander, Athena. That's kind of where I'm at with this. You know, those are some of the focal points we should be having in this division.
I wonder how Thunder Rosa slots into all this when she comes back. Of course, there's Tony Storm as well. There's Britt Baker. There's they've got people to work with, man. And I've always said when people try and use the excuse, like, oh, the talent's just not good enough for them to have all this TV time, but some people call for it to have. It's like they definitely do. They've got more than enough talent on the women's roster. I think they've got a lot of potential, really top stars. Of course, I mentioned Willow, but there's plenty others, who could be very, very much run with the ball if given. So I think they've got a really good talent roster, to be honest, when it comes to the women's division in AEW, and I would like to see them do some more productive, focused, interesting stuff with them. So I'm hoping in this kind of new era that we're going into that they can pull some of that off. But I think not the one, but one of the big problems in AEW has been kind of the trend in ticket sales, especially now that we're the other side of Wembley. Because of a lot of the criticism of AEW's ticket sales and people pointing out like where they're at the moment would kind of be deflected by some people. Like, oh well, they've just put 81,000 in Wembley. It's like we're on the other side of that now, and it'll be interesting to see how they try and boost these ticket sales domestically and who and what exactly is going to lead that charge. But Ibu, do you see anything on the horizon that could potentially lead the charge of some boosted ticket sales for AEW?
There's no one thing right now that appears to be gear shifting or game changing and changing that. And so I think the way that they can get more inspiration into the product and more fan base enthusiasm is to quite literally, Monty, reestablish their identity as an alternative to WWE. Because I think in the last year, Monty, they've gotten too close and too similar to the product that WWE puts on. Not that there aren't still notable differences, but the gap in terms of just difference was much wider in 2021. And I think because of that, they had a very ardent AEW based, almost just base, whatever you want to call it. My brain isn't working. The point I'm making is this. Sorry. The point I'm making is you have to re-inspire the people that originally loved AEW. And I think if you do that by doing very unique, very AEW specific things that only you can get on their shows, the TV quality is going to increase, and the fan base passion is going to increase, and I think that will slowly lead to the shows that do 2,000 tickets doing 3, and the shows that are doing 3,000 tickets maybe doing 4.5K. So I think quite literally it'll take the shows just getting better, more exciting, and more unique to the other product. Because otherwise, why can't I just, not me literally, but why can't I just pay to see Raw and just watch Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins and all the guys that come, Gunther
Gunter.
and Chad Gable and those guys, and see the stars, so to speak. You know, but if AEW is kind of rocking and rolling, and I'm getting incredible matches again on TV, which it's kind of gone under the radar. The in ring on Dynamite went down a slight bit, So, but if we get back to a point where like Dynamite has 2 4-star matches a week on their TV, and they're doing really quirky and unique things, and people are coming in from other promotions that you just can't do on a WWE show, then I might go, you know what? Let me actually save my money and go to the Dynamite, because that's going to be a pay-per-view quality TV taping. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, definitely the weekly pay-per-view style that but their core fan base got to know and love. They've kind of slipped away from that in recent months, So if they can kind of re-establish that magic of the AEW Dynamite TVs, then I'm sure that'll have a trickle-down effect to the Rampage, the Collision, and everything else, and just the overall vibe of AEW. And hopefully, for Tony Khan and those in AEW, it can boost his ticket sales, because lately the trend hasn't been that great with AEW's domestic ticket sales. So,
The other
but you
thing,
mentioned, go
the other
ahead.
thing, is people have mentioned like it's because the prices have gone up, but historically in wrestling, when you're hot, the ticket prices don't matter, because WWE is charging people an arm and a leg to go to their fucking TVs. Like they're literally like Raw's in your city, they're asking you to give them $500 a ticket, which is like preposterous, but people are doing it. And I can't get in the mind of a ticket buyer, but just realistically, throughout history, Monty, like any times a product is hot, people will part with whatever amount of money they need, you know. But when something just isn't hot, it doesn't matter how many $25 ticket slashing four ticket family bundles you offer. If people don't want to see you, they just want to see you, So we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. You mentioned a lot of fan base passion when you were talking about reigniting the ticket sales. So there's been a lot of that with NXT lately. A lot of people praising, a lot of people singing the praises of Shawn Michaels and his NXT weekly TV that he's been running lately. And of course, there was another episode last night on Tuesday, and I'll be honest, it was another good episode. I'll quickly go through it. But I'm aware that you didn't manage to catch it, but I'm sure you've seen some of the highlights.
I saw some of the clips and tweets, and it looked fun. It looked fun on face. Like I saw a clip of Pete Dunne in the Axiom's match, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I saw Braun Breaker going through a table, Saw that
Oh man, that
some
main event.
monitors were flying and shit when he fell through it. Yeah, I'd be willing to bet that kind of rocked, to be honest with you. But Von Wagner is slightly growing on me. I used to think he was the shits, but now I don't know, something about this big man brawler type that he has, and he kind of, I don't know, he has these like, this is gonna sound sacrilegious, Monty, but like he has these like Stan Hansen-esque ringside brawls. Like Hansen will have these matches where like 60% of it is outside the ring. And it's just 2 large men throwing.
You couldn't think of anyone else. You had to invoke the name of the great Stan Hansen.
Yes, because it's like the sloppy, unstructured brawl between 2 large people fighting around the ring. This type of shit Hansen and Brody would do. Not that Braun Breaker and Von Wagner are Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody, but yeah, I'm noticing. I've really taken notice, Monty, that like at least online, people are getting
Definitely a
into.
shift.
People have gotten into this NXT show. People would say to me in my comments like a few weeks ago, NXT is the best and most interesting show in WWE, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And I don't know if I'm willing to get there yet, but I kind of see why people say that because there's a lot of dynamic workers that get featured on the show now. On any given week, you're watching Ilya Dragunov and Dragon Lee and Nathan Frazier in the ring. You're seeing Wes Lee, and then you get some of the kind of craziness, and you'll usually get one or two main roster surprises. And Braun Breaker spearing somebody out of their fucking shoes. So yeah, man, they got a pretty nice thing going there. I can't lie.
Yeah, man, it's good stuff. Like I said, we'll go through some of the main highlights. Of course, the show opened up with NXT Women's Championship match. Tiffany Stratton defends against Kiana James, and this is a nice way to start the show because, of course, it's kind of you can show off what you're doing with the women's division. Like you've got two up and coming talents. It seems like they have quite a lot of faith in Kiana James, of course, evident by her getting the title shot and earning the title shot in a contenders match with quite a lot of the other talents that they seem to have a lot of faith in the women's division. So, of course, Kiana James, and she seems to be coming along pretty nicely as a talent. She's not setting the world on fire or anything. I'm not saying you know, she's not Julia, she's not Tam Nakano, she's not, she's not nothing like that. But she's coming along nicely as a PC project.
Mm-hmm.
They have a nice little match to open the show. Tiffany Stratton defends successfully, and she's then greeted by Becky Lynch on the big screen, who challenges her for an NXT Women's Championship match next week on NXT. A show that it seems like they're loading up people. Becky Lynch coming to NXT to challenge Tiffany Stratton. I'm fired up for this one.
Why is it being? Is Dynamite on Tuesday next week?
No, it's there is a Tuesday Dynamite coming up, but it's not next week if I remember correctly. I'm pretty confident in it.
Because I saw that they're doing Becky versus Tiff Strat, and then they're doing
Yes.
Wes Lee versus Ilya Dragunov on the show.
Yes.
I was like, are they fighting Dynamite? What's going on here?
Well, the only reason why I know is because I had to check. That's what I had the same kind of immediate reaction you did after they announced a couple of matches.
I was like, why are they ending in the clip? Like, what's good? They're kind of going crazy. Yeah, Becky Lynch versus Tiff is interesting. What are they gonna do here? Like, is Beck just gonna win the NXT title for like a shock victory, or like I can't see her losing clean to this girl?
I think they're in a win-win situation unless they do like some horrible finish. Like
Explain.
they can because if Becky wins,
that's a big deal.
That's a big deal, bro. Becky never won the NXT Women's title, but like outside of that minor detail, that's just kind of the historic detail that the commentators are going to scream at us. But like Becky Lynch on NXT, much like Dominic Mysterio, I'm sure will help boost ratings. So it follows the trend of them having actual stars from the main roster going down there, mixing up with some of the top talents in NXT and helping getting them over, etc., etc. And in the meantime, helping boost the ratings as well. And I'm sure Becky Lynch would be a very strong player in the current project they seem to be doing with NXT with the main roster as well. Then if Tiffany Stratton beats Becky Lynch, I think that doesn't need much explaining on why that could be a very good thing.
Yeah. Absolutely, it'll do a big number. It'll do one of their biggest numbers of the year for sure. I think they'll pass 1.2 on that one, and they will certainly be comfortably over 700,000 viewers probably. I think the show's getting to a point, Monty, where there was a stretch with NXT, Monty, like especially during the 2.0 era, where anybody that from that show making a main roster appearance, like nobody knew who the fuck they were, and like. In previous, like in the Black and Gold days, Monty, if you remember, guys would get called up after like WrestleMania, and like the whole crowd knew who they were. You know what I mean? Like the whole crowd knew who they were. And in the 2.0 era, everybody's just complete like unknowns. A lot of people didn't watch the show, didn't know who the fuck the main players were, and they couldn't really sell tickets outside of the Performance Center. They barely got like over 3,000 for the first stand and deliver in the 2.0 era, Monty. In 2022, 2022, the stand and deliver in Dallas, they couldn't get 4,000 people to come. You know, now compare that to now, Monty, where like this year they've done multiple shows like around 5,000 tickets sold, like just around the country, around the nation. And not only is it just five, it's not even 5,000. Like, oh, wrestling's in town. Like you watch those events, and those people, you can tell they are weekly viewers of this show. They know the players, they know the storylines, they know the main guys.
I love it.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
like it's kind of surreal to see because like I remember the first one that happened. I think it was Vengeance Day in like North Carolina. I was like, people are actually watching this now. That was just the big thing that hit me. Like people are like watching this now. So and No Mercy's doing pretty good. No Mercy's around like I think a little over 4,000 tickets out right now. So it's getting somewhere as a brand when it comes to brand recognition. And you also notice this, Monty, because a few months ago when like people like Carmelo and other guys were making cameos on the main roster TV, the camera would show them and like the crowd actually like knew who they were. So
Yeah.
I think it bodes well for the next set of call-ups.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, it keeps the trend in the right direction. So, Ilya Dragunov, he had a match with Aura Mensa, and of course, this kind of follows the trend that Ilya Dragunov has been on lately, where he's wrestling people who are very green, and it's kind of let's see what you got moment for these green talents. And Trick Williams, of course, a couple of weeks ago, he absolutely stepped up to the plate. He set the world alight. Trick Williams and Ilya Dragunov on that one night in August. Oro Mensa, can't say they achieved the same thing here, but Ilya Dragunov, of course, he had a very good performance in this, but it just didn't reach the levels of heat and just excitement that Trick Williams match did. But that was a special moment in time, wasn't it?
That was like a unique, just completely unique thing. I saw my good buddy Ryan on wrestling Twitter. I respect his ratings. He does match ratings and TV matches. He did give this 3 3/4, and he basically said that like Ilya Dragunov does it again. So we'll see. I know both of us were not big Oro Mensa guys, but I'd imagine if anything, Ilya got more out of him than most people would. So
Yeah, definitely he did.
Ilya's becoming like
It wasn't a bad match. It's just that Trick Williams had like this magic
it was like
coming
special.
to light moment. Like,
I totally get it. Not Roddy. Ilya's becoming Roddy Monty. Where remember Roddy in his last few months in the PC, you throw a football player at him and he's giving that guy like a 3.5-star match, and you're like, how did he do that? Roddy was having matches that were absurdly. Bro, he had a match with Odyssey Jones. Do you remember this? Roddy had like a match with Odyssey Jones that was like preposterously good.
Roddy's like final run in NXT was like
hilarious.
It was beast, bro.
It might be my favorite of his NXT career because
just working with the new guys, and just having these incredible matches with them,
Bro, he was working. He would do trios matches with the very green Creed brothers, and they would just go beast mode. So, yeah, Dragunov's special. I hope he gets called up soon.
Yeah, man. Hopefully, seems like a matter of time. Well, I'd at least hope so. Anyway, the Global Heritage Cup Invitational Tournament continued with the round robin tournament that NXT are doing. We had Nathan Frazier defeated Duke Hudson. Tyler Bate defeated Dabakato. Did you see the airplane spot that he did?
Yeah, so I got some background on this. Rob was jumping me, Monty. He was like, "Take that, Ibu. Tyler Bate. Stop fucking dissing Tyler Bate. Stop doubting Tyler Bate. He's still him." And I'm like, yeah. Because I'll tell you what, Monty, I saw the match of Dabakato versus Tyler Bate. And I know that guy just came back. I'm like, oh, shit. Tyler's going to get squashed. Shit, that's what's going to happen. Then I hear that Tyler Bate kind of did some cool stuff, and he beat him. So,
he did.
They're not giving up. They're not giving up on the guy,
And neither should they. He's still so young as well,
Right.
He's so young, but it's like it's striking to think, because you think back to like a few years ago with Tyler Bate.
He was the prodigy of wrestling.
And it's like, you think of the matches he was having back then. He's 26? He's 26 now.
Right.
So it's Yeah, let's get him heated up. I wouldn't be mad at him winning this Heritage Cup
Bro,
Invitational. It's quite
26 is,
hilarious that the winner of this Heritage Cup Invitational just gets a shot at Noam Dar, you know?
yeah. I was gonna say 26 in wrestling is like stupid young, and he's already
Yes.
been wrestling for so long and so good. Um,
Already
he's
had classic matches.
yeah, 26 is like the age of like a guy walking into the PC to try out. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, man, we had, what else we have on the show? Dragon Lee, he lost it, but we lost to Mustafa Ali in the number one contenders match for Dominic Mysterio's North American title. So yeah,
What,
we get him.
what was
Go
the
ahead.
finish here? What was the finish here? Did Dominic fuck him
Dumb fast
basically?
counted.
Right,
Dumb
right. Yeah,
fast
because
counted.
it very much is. They've almost kind of made it clear to you, Monty, that like Dragon Lee is the guy who's going to beat him. It's a matter of when they choose to get to that point, and they're going to prolong it with Dom
I hope so.
shenanigans. No, Monty, it's very clear. Like it's very clear. Dragon Lee is
But
the
Mustafa Ali on screen has been doing like this North American title bit for like fucking 6 weeks or something now. So I'm worried. I'm worried. I want
so.
Dragon Lee to take that belt off Dom, not Mustafa Ali.
When is the Ali match happening?
It might be next week on that loaded show, but don't quote
Hopefully,
me on that.
hopefully, hopefully it's the TV match and Dragon Lee gets the one at the pay per view.
But yeah, the match with Mustafa Ali and Dragon Lee, it was pretty good. Pretty good match. Good match. Um but yeah, Global Heritage Invitational, another match. Butch versus Axiom. They went to a time limit draw. This was really good. Like this was like one of the better NXT TV matches that you can see this year, probably.
Mm.
This was really good. you know,
It sounds really good on paper. I mean, Pete Dunne's he's slowly become underrated. You know, like he's quite good. And you know what's funny about it, Monty? When he was a pushed near main event level guy in NXT, I didn't quite see him at that level really, and it was kind of big fish in small pond to me. But now that he's just basically like a mid card tag team spark plug on SmackDown, um, I watch him and I'm like, nah, this guy is like really nice though. You know what I mean? And he's like slightly underrated as a result. And people don't really talk about him as like the really good young wrestlers, but he's quite good. So it doesn't shock me that he had a great match at Axiom. Axiom's one of the best technicians in America. Genuinely. He's that
he's
nice.
really good. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
really good.
yeah.
Really smooth. You know, I wish
Absolutely.
he had better punches, oh man.
Yeah.
That's like my one gripe with Pete Dunne. You know, he's a local hero, of course, Birmingham hero, Pete Dunne. You know, so I could never hate on the guy, but I just wish he had, especially because of his style. You know, and you know
Mhm.
some of his shots he just kind of whiffs them, and it's just like, oh,
Yeah. When you see that, it's like stick to just like transitioning out of holds, you know.
something
Just
like that. Yeah.
stick to that, man.
Um, Carmelo Hayes and Dominic Mysterio had an interaction that would probably pop you with, you know. Dominic Mysterio just comes up to Melo. It's like, oh man, it's tough being a champ, you know. Melo's like, all right, man, you know.
Like, all right, bro. Like, okay. I am.
No, because Dominic Mysterio's doing like he's like shitty acting, but
Yeah,
like in like kind of the annoying heel way, you know. So it
yeah.
works. Like
Kind of
it
like
popped me.
I'm guessing it's not far off from when he was in front of Jey Uso and he's just like, "What's up, man? How you doing? Yeah, you know, we're both from a broken home, from broken families. You know, I get being tired of fighting your family, man. I get it. You know, but you know, if you want, like, you don't have to be alone in this fight." And he's like fucking offering him the joint judgment thing and shit. So, I wouldn't be surprised if it was something similar.
And yeah, also on the show, it's like you know, a lot of people always are going to put over. Well, a lot of people recently have been putting over Shawn Michaels booking in the women's division, not just the top end of the division, the mid card as well. And you know, even on this show last night, there was a brawl in the locker room which kicked off between like Kiana James, who of course just lost the world title match. I think Roxanne was involved, and not like a bunch of the women were involved for that. And then we continued the story of Josie Jane corrupting Thea Hale. You know, the goody two shoes Chase University student Thea Hale.
This has
You
been a
know,
storyline I've seen 0 minutes of. It's so funny, Monty. There's like mid-level storylines at NXT that, because of the way I watch the show, I will have seen nothing of, because like
Yeah.
it'll be progressed through like backstage segments, and then I just skip ahead 3 minutes. So, but yeah, I saw a tweet where someone was like, "I'm noticing that Thea Hale is dressing in a more subdued way, like just to indicate the corruption."
She's
Like,
getting a bad attitude, bro. She's
all
getting a
right,
bad attitude. It's
all right.
you know. But yeah, Thea Hale, very bright talent, in my humble opinion. You know, she
Mhm.
got a win against Gigi Dolan, but of course there was a lot of there's interferences and all kinds of commotion going on. But yeah, of course, the big thing that everyone was talking about coming out of NXT yesterday was the main event no disqualification match between Braun Breaker and Von Wagner. Earlier in the show, um, Baron Corbin had a promo because he was set at commentary for this, and he put in one hell of an effort. It was popping me huge. But
Glad he's not on the main roster anymore.
well, he's
In a weird way, like he's tolerable over here. You know,
yeah, man.
in a weird way, yeah.
I think Baron Corbin was just very much a victim of overexposure on the main roster. To be honest, I think as a talent, he's I guess the silver lining of that overexposure is that he's got a lot of TV reps and experience. So like he knows what he's doing out there, sort of thing.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think he's amazing or anything, but he just kind of knows what he's doing. He can cut a promo, he can wrestle a match, he knows how to get heat, etc., 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 etc. And I guess given the right thing, he can be pretty good because that broke Corbin shit was popping everyone, bro. And he was like killing it as a character, but they just kind of cut it short way too soon.
That
So
was the best. That was the peak of his career. I I
he won
genuinely
Money
was.
in the Bank, so that's probably he's beat Roman Reigns and shit.
Yeah, yeah.
He's done a lot of
None,
stuff.
none of that was any good. The best work he's ever produced was when he was balding and he had his beard growing out and his hair growing out, and he was just pathetically walking around TV with his like shirt that had like a mustard stain on it. That might be the best storyline WWE produced in 2021.
He was killing the promos as well. Like when he would go and ask people for $20 and shit.
Bro, he was telling people to donate to his to Corbin Fund.
Poor Corbin. But yeah, he had a promo earlier on talking about this match. Of course, he was asked, who do you think's going to win this match? And Baron Corbin was like, if Braun Breaker is really about what he's talking about, then he'll fuck up Von Wagner and he'll put him into retirement. And if Von Wagner's serious and he wants to step to the plate, then he'll make a statement by defeating Braun Breaker. And in the main event, like I said, Baron Corbin on commentary, and Braun Breaker did get the win over Von Wagner in just the two big men beating the hell out of each other, doing some big spots. At one point, Von Wagner he threw Braun Breaker through the wall. Like the thin wall that they have. That got a huge pop. That was chaotic. It was very chaotic, as you'd expect in these sort of brawls. Um, as you already mentioned, that you saw there was the pop-up powerbomb through the table where the monitors all fly up in the air. That was awesome as well. And it was just chaotic. And like I said, Braun Breaker, he ended up getting the win in the end. And at the end of the show, he continues his beatdown on Von Wagner, gets into the outside, lines him up, lines his fucking head up on the steps. He raises the steps, and as he's bringing them down, he cuts the black, Ibu. The TV cuts the black, but you hear it, you hear the steps connect, and you hear the reaction. Like Booker T and everyone like, yeah, Baron Corbin on commentary like, oh my god, he actually did it. Commotion, and
I saw the clip and Vic Joseph was like, "You son of a bitch!"
yeah, man, it was they did like the big dramatic ending, like I said, it cut to black. You could hear the commotion going on though, and then after the show ended on social media, it was surfacing like, there was fan pictures and stuff like that of Von Wagner being carried out on a stretcher with like a bloody bandage around his head. But yeah, Braun Breaker committing murder on live television on a Tuesday night, Ibu, Bron Breakker as a heel is fucking incredible. I need it on the main roster. It's gonna work. Buying stocks, buying
It's
more stocks. I bought Bron Breakker stocks a long time ago. I'm buying more. You know.
same. He was a blue chipper as a babyface. I liked him, even though you remember that period, Monty, where we were both just getting really worried. We were both just getting really worried. The crowd in the PC didn't enjoy him. They didn't like him. They booed him. It was just kind of scary, you know. And then he turned heel, got that beard, became badass Braun Breaker, started spearing people randomly, getting into fights with. He's just bullying people on the card, and this is a good act. This is a really good act. I'm buying stocks too. Throw him on SmackDown. Let him make that show more interesting.
Yeah, man. Loading up on
I
Bron Breakker stocks. Like I said, bought them a long time ago, and now I'm doubling up.
Monty, if it was up to me, Monty, man, if it was up to me, he's ambushing Seth Rollins on any of these TVs. You know, like just running up on him and spearing the shit out of him. You know,
I wouldn't put him anywhere near Seth unless he was beating him.
true. That's the thing. I do want his debut to be something where,
Especially if he's got a bad back, brother. You know, I can't have bad back Seth beating Bron Breakker when he comes up. You know, I'd be disgusted.
bro, he literally he needs to come up on the main roster and just win a belt, like like the first or second week.
Yeah, man.
We haven't done that in a while. We haven't done that angle in a while. I think he's the guy you do that with.
Yeah, definitely. You could definitely make that work. He's an animal, bro. I love Bron Breakker. I think he's great. Yeah, another good show, man. Some good matches. Of course, you know, good storylines for the women, top to bottom. And then, you know, you got the Heritage Cup Invitational that everyone's been enjoying. Some good matches in there. You know, we got Carmelo Hayes, his next challenger. It looks like that's going to be lining up soon. You got Ilya Dragunov versus Wesley competing for that. But yeah, man. Wesley, just quickly before we finish the NXT shit, the angle where Ilya Dragunov wins his match, against Aura Mensa. And like obviously Ilya Dragunov's been talking about the title, but he's next up, etc., etc. And Wesley comes down to the ring and he's like, "Oh, bro, I know obviously you've got your eyes on the title and you want next up, but I'm just here to say, like, you know, I've got next. You know, I've been working too hard, blah blah blah, and I know when I get my rematch, I'm gonna win that title, and I'll give you a title shot when I win the title, bro." And he's just like, "Yeah, cool," and he goes to walk off.
Wait, Dragunov says, "Yeah, cool."
Nah, Wesley, he's just like, "Yeah, cool, bro. I got you next time." And he goes to walk off like he's just, you know, like it's chill. And then the Dragunov's cool. So like, nah, it's not how it's gonna go down, brother. You know. Good shit. It was good shit.
What do you think of his new look? Dragunov has this new like seedy goatee.
I don't know, man. It makes very little difference. I guess it's.
Oh, you haven't even noticed? Like he has this, like.
It makes little. No, I've noticed. It just doesn't make a whole world of difference. I don't think.
That's interesting. I was just curious because his clean shaven look it made him look like I don't know if you know this guy, Draco Malfoy from Harry Potter. Like he looked like him to me with the slick back blonde hair, you know, and then like the clean shaven look. Yeah, you know, like this kind of, and he looked like this Russian beast, and yeah, now he's going for this more gritty, gruff look with the facial hair. And I don't know if I like it or not. I'm not sure, but that match is going to be just ridiculously good next week.
Yeah, most probably.
It's going to be really good. It's going to be really good.
But yeah, another strong show by NXT. Definitely, the people that have been singing the praise of NXT in recent weeks, you know, if they got any new people to tune in this week, I don't think they would have felt let down. You know, so yeah, they achieved something with the show, I believe. But yeah, what else? You know what? Let's get into some super chats before. You know, we'll do a quick. You know, we'll kind of not recap. We'll go through the AEW Dynamite show that's going on tonight and a few other notes, and we're going to get out of here. But first, Seth Rich Rogan, $5. Appreciate you very much. At work, getting killed by an end of summer head cold, but the Dynamite card is fueling me. Yeah, man, they've put an inspired card together. You know, a card that their fan base is very happy with from the looks of Twitter. So
yeah, bro, they're like fired up, bro. They're so jacked up about this card.
Yeah, man. Codeman's left hand, $4.99. Appreciate it very much. Not a take, but a thought.
He means Marty Bell.
Marty Bell and Alison Kay have been around for years. Why haven't they made it big in your opinion?
I don't think they're that good, personally speaking, but that doesn't stop a lot of people from being signed on national TV. So I don't know. I think
Yeah,
there's a
it's like
stigma with NWA too.
especially now, like you need to really be making you need to be making like a lot of noise, to get noticed. So
I think it's
I
also
don't
because
know.
they're women, Monty. Because to be frank with you,
Definitely
I,
harder for women.
yeah, it's harder if you're not like a top elite superstar women's wrestling talent. It's harder to be like just an underneath person getting signed because what typically happens is like a Tony Khan or another promotion. They're always looking to augment and boost their men's roster. Even if it's with guys that aren't gonna be slated to be like super top dudes. But with women, there's less of an enthusiasm to even like discover people on the middle level. So.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a tough one. It's just kind of how the chips fall. It's just how it goes sometimes. Globe Wrestling 499, appreciate ya. Ibu, would you be interested in a CM Punk and Paul Heyman reunion if Roman ends up leaving WWE for Hollywood?
That would be fascinating. I don't know about like just as a permanent, just redoing the act, but them doing stuff on TV again is interesting.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, of course. Even if if they're on opposite ends of the ring,
Yeah.
or well, obviously Heyman wouldn't be in the ring, but you know what I mean.
He meant Paul just being like, when we look at the trajectory of your career, it's safe to say only I understand CM Punk. He's trying to get in his head like, you need me. And he just listens. He's like, you leave Paul Heyman, you lose in the UFC, you get fired from a different wrestling promotion, you get da-da-da-da. He just lists all his fucking like things and stuff. Punk is doubting himself.
Heyman, I do kind of need Heyman and Punk in a ring with microphones, just to know that sort of shit that Heyman would come up with.
He would, bro.
He's an artist,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, Mazfan84, appreciate you as always. 199. Need a dominant woman heel. Use Athena, turn Shida. You could definitely get Athena involved on the AEW TV a lot more if you're looking for that. People love Shida, man. You could turn heel though,
Am
but
I tripping?
the people do what the people do like to cheer Shida. So
I'm tripping. Didn't they turn Sheeta and then they kind of dropped that? Didn't she turn at the beginning of this year?
I think I know what I think I've got an idea of what you're alluding to, but I don't know, man. They do a lot of stuff with that women's division that doesn't get
Yeah,
the
I'd imagine like Tony and like nobody remembered, and that's why they brought her back. Like, just use her as a babyface, whatever.
Arm Dragon $5. Appreciate you. More of a question for Ibu. Think Punk would have an interesting in work. Do you think Punk would be interested in working with AJ Styles? I think that says. Can't remember if they have beef or not.
They hate each other, and the Punk would not have interest in working AJ Styles.
There you have it.
I wouldn't even want to watch that, to be honest with you, either.
Zayd 94.99, appreciate it. Cody versus Punk 2024 summer feud for the title going to hit like crack. What are your fave Brett matches? Mine are Austin, Owen, Bulldog, 1-2-3, 1-2-3 Kid, Perfect 91. You got a favorite Brett match that wasn't mentioned, Ibu?
I think I like the King of the Ring match with Mr. Perfect better. He has a match with Owen Hart on Raw in like '95 that I might like more than the Mania match. There's a lot of old wrestling matches like that where like the famous one is like the one that's the most lauded. And in me being a sicko, I like the house show rematch like a year later, like the TV one. Here's another example, Monty. Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels have a Raw match in '94 that I like I like almost significantly more than the ladder match at WrestleMania 10. It's just weird
The
like
ladder
that.
match was the first in WWE, if I remember correctly, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
why
like,
it's like famous and like
yeah, I
super
was gonna say, so
iconic.
it was so innovative at the time, and Sean was doing a lot of cool spots with the ladder,
Yes, yes,
especially in the context of the time.
bro.
So I understand Dave's. I believe Dave gave it a 5, didn't he?
Yeah,
Um,
bro. At the time of like the spring of '94, that 5 makes 100% sense.
yes.
Especially if you watch like because for me, like when I was going through the Mania review series and I got to '94, just kind of having the context of what wrestling was looking like in WWE in those previous 10 years going up to that. That was like super like you would have been like, what am I looking at? Like this dude just did a jump. He jumped off the ladder. He did a baseball slide
Mm,
kick with the ladder, things like that. But yeah. And shout out to Bret Hart. Bret Hart's the fucking man.
yeah, absolutely. Anurag, 100 rupees. Who would Brian feud with if it were you? And do you think Brian will sign an extension because he was very conflicted during the media scrum when asked? Um, I mean, I guess the question at the media scrum was more of like, would you want to be, as the contract continues, would you want to be more involved with AEW backstage, etc., and stick around long for a long term time? And he did sound conflicted. It seems like he's trying to find the right balance between doing what he loves in professional wrestling and, of course, the balance with his family. He's got a whole family, so you know.
Yep. That's a shoot. That's a shoot. He a few months ago he was telling people really close to him that he may retire in the spring. But I'm sorry, Brian Danielson never follows up on this. He always tells people, "All right, I'm calling it quits in a few months," and then he doesn't. The first time he did this was late 2020. He was telling people, "I'm gonna retire around WrestleMania," and he didn't. He didn't. Um, he always goes, "This is my last year," and then it's not his last year. So he takes a break, spends some time with his daughters, and then he gets the itch to wrestle again. So I'm not saying he's not going to do it this time, but I have to kind of see it. So
Mm-hmm. Will Chisholm, $10. What was the change of WWE Key Demo going up like crazy this past 2 weeks, and how AEW Key Demo has went
2 years.
down 2 years, and how AEW Key Demo has went down because they was kicking WWE's ass in the demo. Oh, there was never kicking WWE's ass in the demo. That was never happening. There was
They,
they did beat them once or twice, and of course, that's a huge, huge, huge victory for a company as new as AEW, even being in the same stratosphere as WWE TV key demo ratings is like a huge achievement. Never mind actually beating them the once or
yes.
twice that they did. So huge credit to them in that sense. But they were never like kicking WWE's ass in key
What
demo
what happened
ratings.
was what happened was in September of 2021, they got dangerously close. Raw
Yeah.
was sagging into the high point fours. Dynamite was
Yes.
ascending to the high point fours, which looking back in retrospect, especially where we are now, is unbelievable. Like Dynamite throughout the entire summer of 2021, we're doing 0.44s, 0.45s. And then in early September, post Danielson and Adam Cole coming in with combining with CM Punk, we had some Dynamites that were doing 0.47s and 4.8s. And the week of Grand Slam, they did a 4.8, and I believe Raw did a 4.9. It was something like that. And it got really close. In a few weeks, when Raw started to do the football competition, Dynamite beat them like 1 or 2 weeks in the key demo. And for a lot of those weeks, they did have a slightly higher 18 to 35, I believe it is. So yeah. And the reason why it happened, Monty, is because they were the cool product that was rocking and rolling and did all these cool new things and didn't insult your intelligence. And summer 2021 WWE programming was absolutely abhorrent. And Vince McMahon was just handing the other competition open goals, calling people up and changing their names and embarrassing people and inconsistent booking and
Yeah,
repetitive.
just helping the narrative that helped start AEW in the first place. Of
Exactly.
WWE is a hellhole, it's a prison for talent, blah 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 blah, and all this bad faith around it. Around
Yep.
Vince's booking, etc., and his use of talent. And
Yep.
AEW in what you was basically getting to was the opposite, the exact opposite. So
Right. And
you
the
know,
big turnaround is just this. It's pretty simple. I think there's many people who are fine with watching WWE as long as it makes sense. And it was so bad and so nonsensical and so insulting that they pushed people, even like the moderates, who were like, I'll watch Raw if it just makes fucking sense and I get to see the guys I like. And so the product making sense and stabilizing and then having a new creative direction and bringing back certain guys and having a couple key A storylines that people find genuinely compelling is the big turnaround. The Bloodline stuff, Sami Zayn stuff, numerous other people, Cody Rhodes, you name it. There's a long list. On various levels, there's just enough there now at the top end of this of the creative spectrum to keep people kind of engaged in what WWE is doing, and they're hot. And it's just tough for the number 2 to be hot when the number 1 is hot. That's just kind of how the business of this thing works. So that happened.
Yeah, I think kind of the narrative change when Triple H took over creative. You know, like that was a huge thing for WWE. You know, they've managed to just keep the momentum going really well. WWE have in terms of like ratings. You know, obviously we can but we could spend all day, hours and hours picking apart. Like they should have done this booking decision, they should have done this at Mania. Cody should have beat Roman. They should do this with the Bloodline. It's getting blah 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 blah. We can talk about the creative, but in terms of just statistically looking at the ratings and the ticket sales and stuff, they've been, you know, they've just been really good at keeping momentum going and adding something when it seems like something's calming down. You know, like when momentum seems like it's calming down, it's like here's John Cena for 7 weeks. You know, so
yeah, that really did bail them out. You know, and then on the Raw end, it's like Jey Uso's now on the show, like little things like that.
Yeah, it's just rebuilding momentum and keeping momentum going. Will Chisholm, whereas AEW, it's been up and down. You know, Will Chisholm, $5, appreciate you. I know WWE see Tiffany Stratton as a featured star, but do they feel the same about Roxanne? I think they're very high on Roxanne, but I do think Tiffany Stratton, as an all-rounder, is a bit further along because of character works, but significantly better, I think. Roxanne is better in ring, I'd say, but Tiffany Stratton is like really good in ring considering where she's at in her career. Roxanne's a prodigy in that sense, but I think when it clicks for her as a character, Roxanne, and I have seen strides when I've been watching NXT in that department. You know, she's already had the NXT Women's title, but I think she'll probably be due another run with that belt. So we'll see, but they definitely do see her as one for the future. Will Chisholm again, HBK putting that card on to say he's going to give y'all. I'm just going to read this as it comes. HBK put in that card on. He's saying, "You're going to give me Booker of the Year." I kind of get what you're saying, you know. Will, please check for typos. Will, you have me tied up in knots sometimes, brother. I appreciate the super chats always, but please, before you press send, just reread it to yourself. You know.
he rush types. Yeah, I've been seeing that sentiment a lot more, and I used to think it was ironic, but I think like people, you know, there might be a little bit to it, you know, for the people that like NXT, is that Sean is like, you know, Booker of the Year. He's not going to win it because the people who vote on the Observer Awards don't respect him as a creative mind. But hey, you know, at least NXT is a respectable show now. So.
Well, choose them again. Appreciate you. Cody also calls out Kamala Hayes at Payback. Cody knows who the real ones are. He shouted him out or something.
I guess so. I didn't catch that. He likes Mello. He worked out with Mello. Yeah.
And your rank 100 rupees, appreciate it. Not a fan of the world title tournament. Almost all the announced contenders lost their last singles matches. Owned. Give me some heavy hitters in the bracket. Yeah, that's always going to be the preferred option, you know, and there's always going to be, you know, valid criticisms when the world title tournament isn't filled with like your top
actual top guys. Yeah. To be honest, now that when I really think about it, like I like all the matchups. When I really think about it, like Nick Wayne and like Trent Beretta being in like a world title tournament seems kind of silly, you know. But you get what you get, I guess.
Mass 84, 199. More on the bright side, Roddy versus Trent has the potential to be extremely beast. I'm expecting it to be honest.
Yes. Trent Beretta can go, and Roderick Strong is a fucking demon. So. Yes.
Rob, of course, of Unpure is part of the family. 199, appreciate you. NXT better. #arrest Fulger Breaker. Yeah, man, you can't be out here committing murder on live TV, brother. You know, need some discipline. Darren Walker.
We need a slight CM Punk parody where Shawn Michaels the next week. Yo, he needs to be on TV Monday to open the show and be like, after consulting NXT's discipline committee, we came to a decision.
That's nasty, bro. Stop it. Darren Walker, £5, appreciate you. Does anybody know any news about Camille? Her women's title reign only highlight of NWA over the last 2 years. Now she lost it. You see her in WWE or AEW.
I actually could see WWE giving her a look because she's tall
Yeah,
and white and blonde.
yeah. I think she could. I think she could do some stuff over there. To be honest, Wilches and $5 appreciate you again. Do y'all know how FTR and the House of Black feel about Punk's firing?
They're
Oh, bro,
extremely upset about it.
I was gonna say, well, bro, everyone knows that they're friends with him, so it's like you could imagine, you know.
Not happy.
Yeah. Randy, $5. Appreciate you, brother. Do you think Tony will regret firing Punk if he goes to WWE? Do you think the Elite will ever look back and regret not doing business? Would Punk be on Raw or SD? That's a lot of questions there, brother, for the $5.
The bottom line is it 100% depends on the business WWE would do with Punk. Because I'll put it to you like this, Monty. If AEW doesn't get their domestic business back on track, all the they could say all they want about like the locker room is happier and more united and this and that. But if they don't get their domestic business back on track in any way, shape, or form, no matter what they try to throw at things, and conversely, if, and this is again, is if, it depends. If Punk is genuinely like still a needle moving draw for WWE, doing box office shit with them, and again, this is a lot of ifs. If he's drawing money for WWE and he's not having any trouble backstage while AEW is not turning their business around, then yes, he will regret it. He will regret it. So that's the thing.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise. He's definitely going to feel sour, a little sour, at least. You know, everyone knows Tony Khan loves CM Punk as a talent. You know,
Yes.
so if he sees CM Punk cooking on the other show, of course it's going to, it's going to make him feel a certain way.
Bro, Cody doing as well as he does makes him feel a certain way.
I'm sure it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
As for the rest of it, the Elite, I don't think the Elite are ever going to regret it. Would Punk be on Raw SD? It's absolutely way too early to tell at this point. Randy, $5 again. Appreciate you again. Ibu, you think your AEW excitement and passion can ever reach the peaks of 2021, or will it just never be the same without Cody and Punk, no matter what they do?
Yes and no. I think CM Punk not being in AEW does really, really suck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
But if they can just turn their product fully around and be a cohesive and coherent show that maximizes their very, very good roster, then yeah, it could absolutely get back to the excitement of 2021 for me, or at least my interest and enthusiasm for the show. But it's that's up to them. It's not up to me. It's up to them.
It's on them.
Yeah.
Wilches and $5 appreciate it once more. We know Tony not looking for other women. Is WWE always up on the women making buzz, or are they in their bubble? It's probably a better one for you to answer. WWE, how up to date are they with the rest of the women's wrestling world?
The problem with that is a lot of the women outside of WWE right now that are in the world are like 30, 32, things like that, and they prefer not to sign people of that
What
age.
about Joshi's?
We're gonna find out very soon on that one, and that's all I'll say about that right now.
Well, obviously, Corey's saying, she's reported to have signed with the company. You'd assume that her re-debut is coming up pretty soon. She's, of course, going to go straight to the main roster, you'd assume. EO's women's champion. Asuka's been a main event star in the women's division for years at this point. So
the best I could say on that, Monty, is that
in terms of new ones coming in outside of Corey,
the word, Monty, from WWE internally is that they are aware of a looming Joshi exodus and they're monitoring it.
Okay.
So
interesting. But yeah, man, AEW Dynamite later tonight. Just quickly read out the card for you guys. We've got Roderick Strong versus Trent Beretta. We've just mentioned that that's probably going to be very good for the World Title Eliminator Tournament. Also in the tournament, we've got Darby Allin versus Nick Wayne. That's of course, Darby's going to go all out in this, and Nick Wayne's a really bright talent. So
it's really fun.
Yeah, man. We'll hear from Hangman Adam Page, which is good to see. He's going to be on the show. Hopefully, it's a live promo when we get the start of his next feud. And what else we got? We got Ozzy Open versus Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara. We'll see what happens between Sammy and Jericho in this one. Moxley versus AR Fox, his first international title defense. Chris Statlander versus Emi Sakura. And we'll hear from MJF live. Hopefully the big man Samoa Joe is getting involved, But yeah, Ibu, inspired card. pretty inspired card.
Could be a super fun night.
Yeah, man, definitely. Definitely, I'm pretty fired up for it, you know.
Yeah.
Especially like I said, I've mentioned it a few times throughout this show, like this new era of AEW we seem to be going into. So this, if you know, All Out following All In was like the perfect start to that, like the perfect start to that.
Yep.
Especially in Chicago, you know, to pull that off, great vibe in the crowd, etc., etc. It really felt like the AEW of old, as corny as that sounds, you know. And hopefully we get those, you know, those peak AEW Dynamite vibes tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It looks like it's going to be a really fun event.
Absolutely. What else? News notes. A few news notes. Dakota Kai said on one of her Twitch streams that she will not be getting cleared until at least January 2024. Kevin Kelly confirmed on Twitter that he's leaving New Japan at some point soon, and he's going to leave it up to New Japan to announce it or not. He does plan on calling Destruction at Ryogoku, Wrestle Kingdom, and New Year's Dash. So it seems like that will be a 2024 thing. Dave Meltzer seemed to further confirm that Carlito signed with WWE, saying that he was ready to start. He had a start date. He was actually there at whatever TV taping this was, and they couldn't figure out what to do with him. And they still haven't figured out what to do with him. So it does seem like he's on the contract. What else? I think that's it. Ratings, you know, a few ratings. Rampage rating 372k with 0.11 rating. Up 24,000 in average viewers, but it's the same demo as last week. SmackDown did 2.4 million and a 0.65. Down 204,000 from last week and down 0.13 in the demo from last week. But of course, last week
Wait. Are you sure? It's down that much from last week?
Yeah, bro, it was the Bray Wyatt Funk episode the week before.
Yeah.
And that of course drew a huge rating. So this is income, except for that spike, of course, which was expected with Funk and the Bray Wyatt tribute episode. That's it's a good SmackDown rating, you know.
Yes.
Collision did 345k average viewers, 0.11, down 207,000 average viewers, and a 0.05 in the key demo. The worst AEW Collision rating to date, the worst viewership, etc. So yeah, Collision rebuild job, Ibo. Of course, we've already touched on it though. But yeah, man, that Collision rating was pretty brutal. 207,000 down, bro. 207,000 down. But yeah, man, I think that's all the news notes I've got, really. Anything else? Ibo, any closing thoughts?
LA Knight marginally outdrew John Cena in the key demo. The opening segment of SmackDown was, I want to say, 2.6 and a 0.71, and LA Knight did 2.6 and a 0.72. And those are the only portions of the show that did in the 0.7 range, because after John Cena's segment, we were in the high fives. So Cena came in, everybody tuned in for that. A ton of people turned the TV off, and then LA Knight came on to cut a long promo segment with The Miz, and people tuned in back into John Cena level force, which is interesting. And then that's how we ended up where we are. And I think that's probably why they decided to list LA Knight internally as the number one babyface on the show.
Yeah, man, LA Knight rules. Big fan. Part of the movement. Wrestle Purists are signed up to it. You know, big star, big money, big things on the horizon. And on that note, shouting out LA Knight. We're going to get out of here. Please like and subscribe. I haven't plugged that nearly enough throughout this show, but please hit the like button on your way out. And of course, subscribe if you haven't already. We've appreciated all the super chats. And I've appreciated the kind of reaction we've got to these afternoon shows that me and Ibu do. You know, we're trying something new. And it seems like the reaction and the viewerships and the support that we get from you guys since doing it has been really encouraging. And, you know, I'm really excited to keep this thing going with Ibu. You know, the 2-man booth. And we just kind of chop shit up for about 60 minutes or so. And I'm having a good time with it, Ibu.
Yeah. I enjoy the two-man shows, and I'm surprised how much people are enjoying it as well. So it's a nice little thing. I make my breakfast while I'm talking to you. You know, it's good stuff.
But yeah, man, appreciate everyone for watching, and we will be back tomorrow with the AEW Dynamite review. Peace.